Hello, it's Wendy. I'm on painting 5. This is part 2, the pub. I'm working on a series of paintings that are my husband and I when we were first dating. It was inspired by a dream that I had when he first got his cancer diagnosis that just sort of summed up our evening walks that we used to take when we were first together. And I'm just trying to capture them. I plan on going beyond this initial part and going into our life and capturing lots of images. So this really is only the beginning of my journey. I lost my husband in last Easter, before the sun even rose. And this is my way of processing it. I'm hoping it will bring me, I don't know, a better perspective. I just want to bring beauty from sadness. And art is definitely my happy place. No matter what, it's just the one thing, if I'm doing something else, it's just because, if I had some other job or something that wasn't art, that was just to hold me over so I could do my art. But I've always, been working on it and trying to improve and be better. That's my goal, and it sort of got set aside a lot. It's never completely been out of my life. It's just to what degree is it in? And really, the last year, it really got set aside because I wasn't working at the studio anymore. It had closed, and I was putting all or the majority of my energy into just caring for my husband and making sure that he was taken care of and spending as much time with him that I could. And he really was the one who sort of pushed me to make sure that I would paint. And he asked me to paint him. And I don't know if he meant to this degree, but I think that it would make him happy. I think that he would sort of enjoy all these sort of reminiscence and, and little paintings. And I know they make me happy. And so it's for sure helping me. And even though this is only painting number 5, each painting, when I look back, it makes me happy. It sort of brings me back. And knowing that it's there, I don't know, it just sort of gives me peace. Almost like I can move forward at that point in time, that it's there, it's out there. And I just, have all these images, glimpses of us just being together. I want to capture those moments that weren't caught on photographs or just moments of us together, of our love over the years. And I don't know how far this will grow. I could be painting him for the rest of my life, but right now, it's important for me to do this, and so I've made myself a discipline thing, It gives me a focus, and so I've been working on this. I have been struggling lately with a few different things, and this is not my only, focus for sort of moving forward. I other things that I'm working on as well, and it's just something you just have to keep on sort of pressing on and make sure that you keep it up. So in this painting, you'll notice in a lot of the paintings, I sort of, I'll start out loose and sort of block in a lot of color, and then I start refining it and adding things to it, and I'll layer things, and I'll use frequently where I'll use like a thin medium to give layers of like glazing over, which will give more of a depth in some areas. So I will go back over areas, and even after I painted them, it changes the, just adding those different layers really just gives something else to the whole thing. Now, I really thought that I was gonna, when I finished last night, I was like, okay, groovy. I got the whole thing sort of blocked in, and I really pushed myself to paint last night, because I was like, I was up late last night, and really, technically, I painted, after midnight the night before, whatever, so rationalizing, and I said, nope, paint. Okay, I make the deal, 5 minutes, and I did, and tonight I'm better. I even though I didn't, that transition from not painting to painting, it's just like anything else, between dishes, not doing dishes and doing dishes, making that step, getting in there, starting it, that is the biggest hurdle for me. So, but today I didn't have to push myself like I did yesterday. I wanted to get in there and work on this, and quite frankly, I thought for sure I was going to finish it today, and not only did I not finish it, I went about an hour and 8 minutes, and it was at that point I went, okay, I'm gonna call it a night. I can sort of feel it in me. I don't. Sometimes I just need to stop, step back, and give myself that moment. So like tomorrow when I relook at it and I start it again, I feel like I'll do a better job. So if you feel like you're just starting to fuck up your picture, sometimes the best thing to do is step away, right? Just step away for a little bit, come back. Now if you're just messing around and you're having fun and whatever, you can do the same thing there. Or you can just go, throw caution to the wind, and know if you fuck it up, who cares, right? But these are, this is not quite the same. This isn't something I'm doing in the sketchbook. These are pieces that I want to finish, and I have a general idea. It's not like I'm sitting there going, but I don't want to unnecessarily. Sometimes I need to let something sit, look at it, and give it some time. I've stated in previous videos that one of the tricks you can do when you want to sort of look with an objective view, that you can actually just take a photo of your artwork and look at it in the photo opposed to looking at it on the painting, because your brain, when it looks on the painting, it literally is remembering every brush stroke you did. Now you're thinking, what's the difference between taking a photo? Isn't it going to do the same thing there? No. Okay? Even though we're sitting there talking about it, your brain will look at the photo differently. It looks at it as a whole complete thing. It's a different entity. It's not looking at it on the canvas phone. It's looking at it on your phone. And it's able to look at it in a different perspective. And when I was teaching classes, I would frequently tell people to do that, to use that trick. I'm going to be like, okay, If you're really frustrated, stop, take a photo, look at it, and sometimes that's all they needed. They took a photo, they realized, oh, that's better than I thought it was. And it's because when it's there, it's not looking at it as brushstrokes. It's looking at it as a whole picture, okay? And it'll also allow you to sort of see, hey, you know, things that you need to change, but in a better light, a more positive approach. Not you just going, it's not working out. I just can't, pull it together. Step back, let yourself go, and just look at it. But the same thing can happen with time. So that's why I say I'm gonna put it down. It's it's late. I gotta watch the grandbabies tomorrow anyway. I am doing the voiceover tonight, so I'm not gonna get to bed that early. It'll still be probably 1:30 at the earliest before I even lay down. But that's okay. I do good on sort of short spurts of sleep, so I can get 4 hours in, and then I'll watch the grandbabies tomorrow, and then I'll nap in the afternoon, and then I'll stay up late, and it's all groovy. My sleep has always been crazy, but quite frankly, me sort of doing that naturally, just whatever, I get into a deeper sleep by doing it that way. If I force myself to try to sleep 8 hours, when I force myself to try to sleep 8 hours, I am a lot more tossing and turning. I wake up, I get down, up, down, but naturally, and it doesn't always work out, but I can a lot with my schedule sort of do the thing where I can take a nap during the day. It's like splitting up my sleep, and it varies how long my nap will be, and it varies how long I sleep at night, so it's sort of both. But what's amazing is when I am able to do that, I'm not waking up in those times. I'm getting a good 3-4 hours sleep in a row where I'm not waking up, I'm not tossing and turning the same way, I'm really getting good REM sleep. And like I said, when I try to do the 8 hours, it's just not, I'm not only tossing and turning, I'm a lot more achy, I'm just, I don't know. It works for me. And you always wonder, what would you revert to if people weren't expecting things of you, or you didn't have to do things? I don't know. I definitely would be somewhere in this realm. Even when I was younger, I got even less sleep. Pre-kids. But I was still working, so I had to sort of work with that too. I didn't have the freedom of, just bending at my own will. And I have a little bit more of that right now. At the moment, I'm not taking care of my husband. Like I said, I do watch my grandbabies, but other things, my time is a lot more flexible, and I don't watch the grandbabies every day, about 3 days a week, and there could be other obligations depending on what's going on, but really I've been kind of under the weather. Physically, which has affected my mental health as well. When you're not feeling well and you can't accomplish the things that you want to do, like even the yard. The yard is a big thing right now because my husband and I always worked on it together, and it's kind of funny. It's one of those things that that you both worked on something, but not only was I not able to work on it the way I normally would work on it, my husband wasn't able to work on it. At the beginning, yes, but pretty quickly, when we found out and he moved into treatment, it was just up and down. It was, and so he wasn't able to do things. and you realize how much that affects what you have. And so we've always, in our yard, we've always gone we live in Florida, so we're subtropical climate, very easy to get overgrown. And my husband and I always sort of verged on the side of, jungly yard. We like that. And in fact, there's one side of our yard which my husband always deemed the green wall. And a lot of the year, there was a lot of things sort of there, sort of overgrown. But he's during the spring and into summer and before, like into fall as well, before we get any, things will start to die back. The potato vines really grow up, and it just becomes this beautiful. They just cover that whole area, and the twist and the turns and the dips and the way they grow around the certain plants and everything, it's gorgeous. And I know a lot of people would rip down that kind of stuff, but I find it absolutely beautiful, and so did my husband. And it gives you a certain amount of privacy into our yard, which at the moment I really could use, because everything is crazy. And I need to work on it. And this is, I've been trying to sort of baby steps really deal with a lot of the stuff in the yard. There's just so much overgrowth. And then there's a few other things I need to deal with. There's an old RV I sort of need to clean out, and it's got stuff in it. And then when that's done, I want to get that out of the yard. And then just various things, my husband and I were always big on collecting things, particularly if they were free or very inexpensive, to do projects. And when this happened, those projects sort of went on the wayside, and so there's a bunch of stuff just around, and I need to deal with it and take care of it and clean things up, and it'll be good for my mental health, and I think also processing things. But it's a big job, and I'm a little bit of a control freak about it too, because in some ways it'd be better if I just sort of brought somebody in and said, hey, just deal with this. Money, okay, that's the top of the thing, paying someone to do that. And then just, I feel like, I need to, I don't know, put my hands on it, deal with it. But I need to sort of find the in between the two things. And it's not always easy to sort of figure out all that. But I'll get there. If you hear things crash around, those are the kittens. Running around like little maniacs. And they are getting big, I tell you. They are almost 3 months, and they are getting big. Particularly two of them, Potato and Seven. Little girl is still very little. I mean, comparatively to what she was, she's bigger. But compared to them, her siblings, she's like half their size. Particularly to number 7. He's the only male. The other two are girls. But she's smaller than Potato, too. And Potato is a girl. If you see her, Potato's the calico. And little girl is a tabby with white markings. Like white little paws and on her face, stuff like that. And then number 7 is black and white tuxedo. But it's They definitely keep me entertained. And they're crashing into things and knocking things over. But they're okay. They're good little babies. Um, but they always have a wild time. I feel like in the middle, they get late. Since I've been staying up late, they've been a lot more active at nighttime. They're also getting older, so cats don't sleep as much at nighttime. They are nocturnal, so it's to be expected. And if I'm awake, I don't care. Now, when I go to sleep, if they're still acting crazy, if they're too crazy, then I'll put them in their little house and tuck them away for the evening. Just because they'll be running all over me and attacking me in the middle of the night, and I just, no. Can't have that. If they want to sleep up and curl up with me and go to bed, I'm good with that. But if they're all over the place and they're crashing into things and knocking stuff down and I'm trying to sleep, no. They get tucked away in their little house. It's decent size, and it has their food and litter in it and a little bed and stuff like that. They're all okay. But they will outgrow that before I know it. Those little fur balls. Now, I'm always a huge animal person, and that was one of the things that really, one of the many things that attracted me to my husband, Vince, because he was a big animal person as well. And not only did we sort of get together really fast, like I've said in other videos that, I moved in a week after we met, and we knew pretty quick that we wanted to be together forever. And one of those things was we brought home a kitten. The place that I worked at the time, I worked for a bulk mail center, and they were big advocates for saving feral cats as well. And behind our office, there was a mama cat that we were always trying to sort of get, and she had multiple litters. And we had homed other litters before, but she had one around the time that my husband and I, just before we met. And so by the time we got together, within the first couple weeks, we brought one home. And he was, they were sort of Maine Coon mixes. And he was named Vlad. And he was the craziest cat. He would, when we were done with our cigarette packs, we'd crinkle him up and you'd throw him, and you'd play fetch with him, and he'd run off, and he'd go and get the crinkled up cigarette pack and bring it back to you. You throw it again, and he'd go and fetch it and bring it back. It's like a little dog. He was so funny. And whenever you'd sweep with the broom, he'd sit there and he'd attack the broom. He'd grab around it and didn't want to let the broom go. And when he got older, I tell you, that cat was a schmoozer. He was so nice. Everybody loved him. And he was kind of like the Tramp, because we didn't realize it, but my husband went over to our neighbor's house because in the back of where we were living at the time, there was a pipe that was broken, and the only access was to go in to our neighbor behind us into their yard so that it could be fixed. And the good thing was we actually knew the people, so it wasn't that big a deal to sort of go back there. And so my husband's going through the house, and as he's going through the house, he walks through the kitchen and he looks down, and our cat Vlad is sitting there eating some good eats in their kitchen. And Vince looks at him, he's like, Vlad. And Vlad looks up at him and meows, then looks back and continues to eat. And that was not the only person that he went and he did that to. We moved away the next year, and when we did that, Pete went around to our neighbors in the new place and ate at home, and then found other places that would feed him as well. He was a good cat, and he was crazy because his tail always stayed fluffy. But being in Florida, even though he was a long hair, during the warmer months, he shed the other part pretty thin, and so he just looked kind of crazy because he almost looked like a short hair, not quite, but almost. In like the summer, because he shed everything out and get just real thin coat, and in the winter time he would get all really super fluffy. I know we're in Florida, but we're central Florida on the East Coast, so we get some cold, not like up north, believe me, and that's why I'm here. As I grew up in Maryland, which in Maryland you go, you have winter. It's great. It snows, and the snow melts. A week later, a few days later, whatever, it melts. Okay, but I moved up to Massachusetts before I ever came to Florida, and thinking that that's where I wanted to go to New England. And I still love New England. I kind of have a hankering to go to Maine, but I'd have to have more than one house, right? I would have to go up there for the summer, or go up there for a few weeks and have a nice warm place to stay. But to do the everyday grind in that cold, no thank you. That is not my gig. When the year I went up to Massachusetts, it was like the coldest winter they had in decades. In fact, my brother-in-law lived not that far away. I didn't know him at the time, but he lived about a half hour away, which my husband did actually come up and visit him when I was living up there for those 2 years. And, it would have been funny if we met then, but we didn't, because I think I would have remembered him if I saw him. Because I knew right away when I saw him, when I did meet him, I was like, yep, I'm going to marry that man. And I married that man. So, and I didn't go around doing that. I was not the type of person going around, I'm going to marry that man. But anyway, when I was in Massachusetts, it was super cold. And I just didn't understand the difference between Massachusetts and Maryland. And I was in Western Mass, right, in the more mountainy area. And even in where I was more in sort of the foothills, a little higher elevation to the surrounding area, and we always got more snow. But what I was amazed by was, okay, so right around Halloween, we got our first snow. And I remember, Halloween decorations were out, stuff like that. And in my head, I thought, well, it's going to melt. So when it melts, we'll get all the stuff that's underneath the snow from the Halloween decorations. Okay. It did not melt. It just snowed on top of that snow. And it did that all winter long. The snow snowed on that. The snow snowed, just continued to pile up. So just multiple layers of snow from all winter long. And I thought that was crazy. I had never experienced anything like that. And there was just little things, like before it even snowed, I remember driving around and people were putting big sticks next to their driveway or next to things that were on the side of the road, which now I know is because of the snowplow. But at the time, I was like, what are they doing, just putting these sticks in the ground? Okay. But that's what it was. And I don't know if they still do just plain old sticks now. I mean, that was, 30 years ago, or more now. I'd have to calculate that, but somewhere around that, 30 something, and maybe 31, 32 years ago. But at the time when I first saw it, I didn't know what they were doing. And then it snowed, and then, two and two together. But I literally, before it snowed, I had this car that had broken down. And I had it parked across the street, which was part of the property. But there was like this sort of barn there. And with the snow drifts, the snow went up and over the car. And again, remember I said, I thought, oh, it'll melt. I'll move it then. We'll take it in. I had another car. But, like I said, it just snowed and snowed and snowed. And anyway, it got dug out at springtime and then fixed. Okay. It was, I was not prepared for that snow. And summer was so short. Beautiful, and I never had better soil for gardening than I had when I lived in Massachusetts. Gardening it felt like it was so easy. That earth was like magical. I remember digging the garden up, and the soil was just like almost black. It was just beautiful. It was rich, full of all these nutrients, and there was a creek that was like a seasonal creek that would run down from the higher elevations right past us, and along that creek, which I did the garden not that far from it. I don't use chemicals, so there was no worry about runoff or anything like that. And but there was like raspberries and blackberries along there, and so many fruiting bushes. Like, even we had wild grapes, and I can't tell you how many jams and jellies and things that we made from just the fruiting things that we had near us. We had peach trees, and that part was amazing. So like, it came like spring and summer came with abundance, and that was beautiful. And I totally, truly appreciated the crocuses and the daffodils when they started coming up, sprouting through the snow. You just extra appreciated all those things. So it wasn't like I completely, was just like, don't want to be there. I just started to really appreciate warmth. And the first place I actually moved to was the Barrier Islands in North Carolina. And my grandparents had lived in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and so as a child we used to go there all the time, and I had really fond memories of it. And I lived there for about 10 months, and then I went down and vacation down in Florida because my parents had retired down there. And when I went down there, it was extra cold in North Carolina when we had left. And when we went down to Florida, it was just beautiful. And the funny thing was, as a child, like, my parents always loved Florida, always talked about they were going to retire in Florida. And they did. They retired in Florida. And at that point in time, when we went and visited them, they hadn't even been there a year. And I went to visit them, and literally after visiting them was like, you know what? Enough of North Carolina and the cold. Let's move to Florida. And I was living with my best friend and my cousin at the time, which that whole scenario was, they got married eventually, or whatever. They were together then too. But we all moved down, and we, just love Florida. We're all still here. And I tell you, it's got, for how much I hated the cold then, I hate it even more now. and just the lack of sunshine. And that really was what it was in Massachusetts. I could handle the cold. I say the cold. It was the lack of sunshine. It was the lack of sunshine that just did me in. It was depressing. Sunshine makes a huge difference to me. I guess seasonal depression just really affects me. I know it affects a lot of people, but I just, was done with it. And that's why I say, like, if I had property up north, I'd have to be a limited type of thing, because doing a whole season up there, the lack of the sunshine, I just no, it's just too much for me. Going on a vacation, enjoying the splendor and the beauty and all that kind of stuff, I totally dig that. But as a permanent base, I think too gray, not enough sunshine for me. I need to, I'm like a plant. I need to go out in the sunshine, and it helps keep me balanced. And I do Tai Chi every day, and most of the time I do it in the sunshine. Makes a huge difference to me. So much so that, a lot of times I do it first thing in the morning, just because circumstances, and I want to, if I'm going somewhere, I have to do something, I want to make sure I get the Tai Chi in. But I really prefer to do it a little later in the morning when the sun's really out, because I wake up early, and it's still sort of really humid, and the sun's starting to come out, but it's not at full, where it's just sort of beaming down and just, draping you with it's just different, and that's really when I prefer to do my Tai Chi, is in that sunlight. It's just is my favorite thing to do. It just sort of gives me that extra. I always find Tai Chi a good time. I even like to a lot of times do it with my eyes closed. But being that I'm outside, and you're always sort of wary. But my dogs are always around me. So if my dogs are around me and my dogs are cool, because they'll tell me if anybody's coming or anything, then I could sit there and I could do Tai Chi with my eyes shut. And it gives you that sort of extra edge of sort of working on balance and stuff like that as you sort of do those things. And I don't know, it helps me sort of get into that sort of Zen place as you move from one move to the other. And I enjoy it, and just feeling that's the sun on your skin at the same time adds to that whole thing. See there, that's Potato right there sitting next to me. They just come and they sit, and sometimes they watch me, and sometimes they crash into me. Sometimes they're just hanging out with me. And if you don't see them in the frame, that does not mean they are not running around. They're constantly running around and doing things. Or at least sleeping next to me at the very least. They are good little kitties. But they hang out. They give me their artistic critique of what I'm doing. But I appreciate them immensely. They're good little kitties. And they've helped me out a lot too. Just like, doing this artwork and doing Tai Chi and writing in my journal are all things that have sort of worked towards my mental health, uh, and dealing with my grief and processing it. They're just one of those pieces in the puzzle that are, it's not a one solution thing. And, grabbing at those straws for those things that bring me peace, and animals do. I love having animals around. The sort of ideal situation is I'd love to, have many, many acres and many, many animals. Even do some sort of animal rescue. I take care of a feral cat colony, just outside of my property here. They're back up into a woods, and there's a lot of people that sort of drop off cats here, and gotten a lot of them fixed through the county. But it's constant. It's not something that it's a constant battle to keep it back, and it's just one of those things that people are like, oh, well, I could drop it back here, no one's going to notice. Well, we do notice. And I feel for these cats, but I feed them in the morning when I feed my critters. And I go out and I give them some food and sort of help them along. But these kittens are, and these are not the first kittens we've gotten, but usually I find homes for them. But these I kept here just because I needed them. For once in a while, you get a cat, and because we get them so often, if we kept every cat that we have encountered, we'd have a lot of cats. It seems like the cat distribution is crazy on our end because they keep getting handed to us. But they're not always for us. My husband and my daughter were driving to her school one day, and this cop was stopped, and there was another car, and they're underneath their car and trying to figure it out. And my husband and my daughter ended up stopping, and what it was there was a kitten stuck in there, and in the cop car. And my daughter helped get the kitten, and she had it, and she had to go in for, I think it's something on a weekend, like it was some sort of school thing, and her teacher at the time, she wanted a kitten, and so her teacher ended up taking that kitten. And then my daughter, another daughter, worked at this one store, and constantly cats in the back near the dumpsters, and the managers, when she was working there, would be like, hey, Minnesota, that's my oldest name, her name is Minnesota, and kittens in the back, and she would go back and find them, and found lots of homes for little kittens. Actually, we have one kitten from that job, Fart Knocker, which my husband named, which is just like him. And I have to smile every time we call him, because you go around calling your cat Fart Knocker when you're calling him. And that cat, he listens to it. He comes to that name. Okay. It's just, my husband did it. He always was trying to make us laugh. And so he still does, even when he's not here. Just him being silly. He had a way about him. He is greatly missed. All the time. And We were lucky to have them. I have a pretty strong support system now. We have 4 daughters, and I have good friends and other family members nearby, and so I am blessed with that. My mom's birthday was yesterday, and that was one of the things I was stressing with because I lost my mom 2 months after my husband, and so it was a very heavy spring with both of those losses, and so I was sort of struggling with it's those little things. I can't even imagine once my husband's birthday sort of comes around in October, and I don't even know. I'll see. But I don't know daily from time to time. I could be perfectly in a, I don't know, okay manner, and something hits you, and a song, you read something, the sun shines just right, it does. I don't know. I can't even explain all the triggers that trigger feeling overwhelmed. I can say that usually when it hits me and I'm just overwhelmed with tears, stuff like that, I have to say it's really not. It's because I don't know. It's the love that makes you do it. It's not this misery. I'm usually crying because I'm just so happy that I had that and it's just, I'm just drinking it all in. And I've always been a big crier, and I also feel that it's important to process emotions, stuff like that. And that goes into even doing all these paintings as well, because it's important I have all these images in my head, and by processing them and actually making them, bringing them to fruition, it sort of, I've processed that. It's there, those, this is painting number 5, and each one of those paintings were all stuck in my head, and now each one of those paintings are no longer stuck in my head. They are painted, right? And I can't say enough that how important it is when you are trying to become better at something. The more you do it, the better you are. And it's not something that stops. It's if it's something you love and it's something you're going to do till I can't do it anymore. And I want to continue to strive to be better and do better and accomplish more. And I have so many images and paintings in my head that I want to accomplish, and I want to bring to life. And they're important to me. But every time I do one, I could check that off the list of something that I've done, something that I've accomplished. And they're my own personal goals. And that's a refreshing change as well, because I've spent a huge chunk of my life as an artist creating for other people. Other people's images, other people's wants, other people's needs, doing commissions. Or, I could do street fairs, And I have my stuff always in there as well, the stuff that's whatever personal, but you always sort of like, or at least I do, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that you put stuff out that you feel like you can put it at more reasonable cost of things, and will reach people. People will want to get it, because when it comes to a lot of pieces, uh, you know, like these, I have no desire to sell these pieces. These are individual pieces. I mean, could I make prints of them and do it? Yes. Get high quality prints and do that kind of stuff. That would be fine. But to actual sell these pieces of artwork, no. And there's so many of my pieces that I become so attached to my artwork when I do it. I have difficulty. There's paintings that I did years ago that I still think about, that were sold and they're out there, and I remember talking to the people when they bought it and where they're going to put it and stuff like that. And I sit there and I think, is that painting still in that person's dining room? Did they hang it? Is it there? And there's like old friends, like a little bit of my soul out there, and I don't know where it is, or like a child. And so it's hard. You do this artwork. I become very attached to it. Most pieces that are my personal ones, I, they're just too much a part of me for me to let them go. But like I said, doing a nice quality prints where you could sell those, that is always a potential. But like I said, I've always spent the majority of the artwork I've done, make money, painted things that other people wanted, and this is not for other people. This is just strictly for me and family members. But me, and that's a rare thing for me to do. So it's not. I'm not trying to be self-centered or anything like that. But I think that I'm at the time, with the passing of my husband and my mom, I see how precious time is and how quickly it can disappear. And you have things in your head and you want to get them done, and they're not just going to happen. You have to make them happen. You have to go out there and work and physically get those things done, because they're not going to be handed on you. What good is that? Part of the dream is that you accomplish it, that you make it happen. And the only way to do that is to push forward and make it. You have to make those steps and make it happen. So by doing these daily paintings, it is. I'm like, okay, I'm going to paint today. What is it? Which one of those images in my mind's eye am I going to pull out and put on, a piece of paint on a piece of paper or canvas or whatever. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to doing commissions. I mean, if I got to the point where I had enough money, commissions would be few and far between. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate all the commissions that I've done over the years, but it's just like teaching. I taught at the studio for 10 years, and although I was sort of sad when I found out the studio was going to close, there were blessings in it as well. The most straightforward one was the fact that it was, by it closing, I wasn't going to be, distracted by work, that I could put all my energy into caring for my husband that last year. And that was good. But also, I feel like, there's a season of things, and you're trying to accomplish things. And when you're doing that, you gotta sometimes say, what else am I getting out of this? Is this still a road that I want to go on? And I can't tell you the things that I learned by teaching. Okay, I hope I taught. I believe I did helped a lot of people sort of accomplish their goal. And it's a lot of it, the way it was there's sort of 2-hour classes, but I had a lot of regulars that came in, and they developed into their own artists over the years, and I watched them grow from people that really had no experience whatsoever with painting to just really understanding how the whole thing works and pulling the picture together and developing their own style. And that was a beautiful thing. But I learned a lot from working and teaching people as well. I'm not saying that I don't know if that will come back into my life again. There is potential, people constantly asking me, you gonna go teach? Do you want to open a studio? And I don't know. I've thought about different things, because there are things about studios. If I did it, I think there would be differences in the studios that I had opposed to the studio I worked in, which was a franchise. So they were restricted by certain things because of the franchise requirements. And I would not be if I opened a studio. But I would there are things I would like. I like the idea of doing things, but most of the things I like the idea of doing when it comes to teaching, and this could be the catalyst to owning a studio, is I like the idea of sort of giving back to the community, or to people, doing things like therapeutic painting sessions, like sort of like art therapy, bringing people in and doing sort of having that available, where you could have free classes available for that, or making things available for things like the local Girl Scouts or 4-H, where they could come in and do stuff. I like working with the community, and I always feel like when I volunteer and do that stuff, that I don't know, I appreciate that a lot more. But because when I'm getting a paycheck for it, I don't know, I don't know. It's a funny thing when it comes. I have trouble, and it's a flaw I need to get over, because it definitely has not helped my pocketbook. But I really, even though I've spent the majority of my life making money from my artwork, a lot of times I'm not a big a fan of doing it that way. I know that sounds crazy. I just need to find a better way to do it and make it work. Because I feel like it compromises my work, and when I do things as well. So, if I could get away with volunteering the rest of my life, in some ways that would be much more appealing to me than a job. But volunteering does not pay the bills. unfortunately. Um, and it doesn't mean that I can't do it. It just means that, you just got to find that balance of the two things. Because I do think it's important to sort of give back to the community. And I sort of moved away from a little of that, like I said, for the past 3 years, taking care of my husband. I've really, some of that stuff's gotten pushed aside. And so just sort of still working on stuff. And I'm always got a little bit of the recluse in me where just I enjoy being alone. I like my alone time. Probably one of the reasons I like painting late at night. It's generally you're not dealing with the demands of when everybody's awake. When people call you, and just the demands of just society being out there and awake late at night. I can do my thing and not worry so much about the interruptions of daylight, of people milling about and stuff. So we will see. But like I said, I'm still doing commissions. I actually have a cat and dog portrait I have to get done here in the next couple days. It took me a while, it's not just, I didn't start them or anything, it just took me a while to jump in there and do it, and I made myself actually start those today. And that's what it is half the time, just sort of pushing myself forward to get things done. Now I do have some paperwork and stuff I still have to deal with my husband's passing. And I appreciate that I, get these commissions. Sales aren't my biggest forte either. I hate giving people prices. How do you price that sort of thing? It's hard. I will say it's interesting because people always go, how long did it take you to paint? I have no idea. But doing these paintings, it's interesting. I guess time management's not always my forte either. So doing these where I'm doing them real time and I put out the real videos for how long it is, it allows me to sort of see how long it took me to do each one of these pictures. Because I do have, real time recording of me doing them, and that's an interesting thing having that, because it allows me to have a better idea of what it is, and I'm always surprised by how long or how short sometimes it is, and it really it depends on the picture and the details of the individual piece. But I enjoy it. It's a learning thing as well, having that, and it gives me a better idea. But when you're giving prices to people, it's like, okay, well, how much am I going to get paid? And I always say whatever it is, but usually I end up spending a lot more time than what I say I'm going to get, and that's just it. I mean, commissions are fine and whatever, but you can't sit there and look at them necessarily for how long it actually takes you and what it takes out of you, because sometimes mentally, the recovery from doing stuff like that, where you're sort of like forcing yourself to do stuff, that's not in there. And I am always extremely grateful for commission stuff I get from family and stuff like that, but I don't want to take money from family, that sucks. So And they do. Family, I've definitely gotten commissions for my family. And this was indirectly, actually, the dog one I'm doing right now. It's not direct to family, but it's indirect. And, through, the line of whatever. And, it's always connections or whatever. But I have a harder time if I'm doing something through family than I do if I'm pricing through strangers. Because I always want to give them, I always want to go, I'll do it for free. Don't worry about it. I'd love to do this for you. And I would actually prefer to paint the stuff for free for them and give it to them than for them to pay me. Because it's more enjoyable for me to do it that way than to get paid. But then they feel bad and they're like, no, 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 no. I'll pay you. And they want, and I appreciate that. I do. But, it would be nice not to be in a place where I could do that freely. But I am not flush with tons of money, so I make my way. I do my thing. These cats are acting all crazy, but it's my own whatever issue to deal with. But, and like I said, I do appreciate the commissions that I have. But my real drive right now is sort of doing pieces, getting these other pieces out there. And this whole video thing, I don't even know what got me started on that. Well, I do somewhat, because we were going through all these images with my husband and stuff like that, and I told you I've been thinking about doing these paintings, stuff like that, and I was finding little blips of videos, stuff like that. I mean, they were tiny. I still have some out there, just different things, and I trying to organize things and put stuff out, and I don't know, I just started doing these little shorts of some of that stuff, and hoping it won't be lost to out there, and that just getting it and holding it in one place and stuff. And then I had these kittens, and I just started recording these little kittens acting all crazy, and I don't know. So I started doing that, and sort of grew from there, and just a couple people that I sort of followed, the sort of thing that I keep hearing over and over again is, if you're going to change, you have to sort of jump in there and make it happen, and don't worry about till the perfect time or till, everything is exactly the way you want it. Just jump in there and make things happen. And so that's what I've been doing. But anyway, have a great night. Take care.